Update on what I would argue is one of the most horrendous effects of the Trump administration was the massive expansion and institutionalization of family separation as like the specific doctrine of the Trump administration, and specifically to be as cruel as possible to scare people away from coming to the country because of the horror at the prospect of losing your child. So we now have an update on that, and it's awful. Lawyers appointed by a federal judge to identify migrant families who were separated by the Trump administration say that they have yet to track down the parents of 545 children, and that about 2/3 of those parents were deported to Central America without their children, according to a filing just yesterday from the ACLU. To catch you up, the Trump administration instituted a zero tolerance policy back in 2018 that separated migrant children and parents at the southern US border. The administration later confirmed that it had actually begun separating families in 2017 along some parts of the border under a pilot program. Apparently they liked the results of it, so they expanded it. Unlike the 2,800 families separated under zero tolerance in 2018, most of whom remained in custody when the policy was ended by executive order, many of the more than 1,000 parents separated from their children under the pilot program had already been deported before a federal judge in California ordered that they be found, partially because we didn't know about it. And so while a good number of families have been reunited, we have this massive group that haven't been, and there is not a lot of reason to believe that they ever will be, JR.
Yeah, let's revisit what happened with the child separation thing. So as you talked about, there was the pilot program, which I didn't previously know about either. But the fact that there was first a pilot program where they decided to test this out to see exactly how cruel and inhumane they can be for the sake of deterring people that were fleeing cruel and inhumane circumstances to try and flee and come to a country that they've been sold on believing isn't like that. That's the first thing that strikes a lot of these folks when they get here is, oh man, we went from a really bad situation to just an almost really bad situation, just definitely a bad one. So you come in this country, and then the policy is to separate kids as young as infants from their parents, and then split them up because that will make it down the line to other folks that are fleeing to not try it. I'm not sure how the communication would work with that, especially after you just lost your child, but now with the mix up in the way they even carried that part out. So the kidnapping wasn't even organized enough for you to reunite these folks with their families. So in order for you to have this plan, you have to have such a detachment from the humanity of certain folks that you do this to. This is where racism comes into view here. So everyone who's mad about how racism keeps getting brought up by minorities, this is one of the reasons why. If you're racist, you have this view of certain folks that they're less than human. That's the only way you can treat them like animals is because you call them animals, which this president has definitely done multiple times. So if your policy, which we see has been absolutely detailed here, from a pilot program to a full-on government program, I think it's a direct result of your racism leading to policy that affects people's lives. Now, if you look and have that number of 542, I believe it was, children that are still separated, and the thousands of others that were reunited but have lifelong trauma. How about these folks that are sitting there? Do they put their brains and their bodies in this child's position? And you remember when you were 5 years old maybe, and think, man, there was that one time I was at the grocery store and I got separated from my mother for 5 seconds and it felt like an hour. And you're screaming through the store, you don't know where your mom is. Now, how about for the rest of your life? They don't put themselves in that situation because they don't think these people are humans like they are. It's the only way you can pull these types of things off. That's why being a racist is one of the worst things, because it leads to more inhumane things, punishments of folks that don't deserve it. And then you feel like you're better than them. And then that feeds your ego and it feeds your racism. This is why it's a problem when you walk down and you come down the escalator and the first thing you say is they're rapists, they're murderers, they're criminals, and maybe a few of them are good people. That's why it was a problem from the first thing this guy said when he came into office, is because we knew it would turn into policy that would honestly hurt the people that he just said are not real human beings. That's why racism is a problem, because it leads to stuff like this.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. On the effect, on why they did it, why so many Trump supporters aren't bothered by it, because this stands out not only as one of the most horrendous things that they have done in their time, but also just added to the list of things that didn't bother any elected Republicans, no Republicans and conservatives and media, and seemingly none of his voters. Maybe 1% dropped off Maybe that's partly why he's losing now. But I don't remember seeing a lot of them saying, well, this is a bridge too far. After all, I'm a conservative. I care about family values and I'm pro-life and all of that. No, they don't seem to actually be bothered by it at all. The uterus collector story. Was Fox News, like, were they angry about that? I mean, pro-life again, but again, pro certain types of life. Let's be clear, pro-white life. That's what they want. And the thing about this that shocks me the most is, so obviously we talked about it a lot. Actually, the time that AOC came on the show, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was to talk about this story because she had just gone to one of the border facilities. When I look at that and that number, it's 545 children still haven't been reunited. It reminds me of the pandemic in a way. It's one of those things that just goes to how flawed our dumb monkey brains are, is that if it was one child, it could be a documentary. It could be a story. It could be like, think about like stories like, Elian Gonzalez or something like that. Like one person is a whole thing, but lots of them, it was a policy. It was bureaucratic. It's removed. We should, like, if one person deserves 3 days of coverage, 5 days of mentions, shouldn't this last years? It's that many more, but it doesn't. It actually makes it, like, maybe it's because we look at that story and we just think, oh my God, I don't want to think about how unrepentantly evil the people we've given the power of life and death are. But they are, and they don't care. Stephen Miller's not losing sleep over this. I mean, I know that he looks like he's aging prematurely and falling apart, but that's not because of this. The whole thing is just disgusting. It's just disgusting, and thankfully there are groups like the ACLU that are staying on this and making sure that we know this.
It's such a good point about if this was documented about one person and one person struggling, one family struggling, look what happened. It would stand out because we'd associate ourselves with that one person. And can you believe what happened to them? And now, I mean, same with COVID, over 200,000 dead, and then thousands a day new cases. Like, well, we've lost that many. What's 5,000 new cases a day? It's all minimized because the numbers got so big that it's like, oh well, at least it's not 1 million. Then if it gets to 1 million, at least it's not 2 million. Like, you can always pump up the number and say it could be worse.
Yeah, 100%. Oh God. I wonder what percent they will. I mean, a lot are gone. Like, they're not gonna bring the parents back. Maybe some, but it's still gonna end up being hundreds at the very least. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.